The great halls of the Galactic Council buzzed with laughter. Ambassador Daniel Wright stood at the podium, his face hot with shame and anger. He tried to keep his hands steady, while alien representatives from 300 advanced civilizations mocked Earth's newest space project, the EDS Pioneer. "Ambassador Wright," said Zillion, leader of the Andromeda Alliance. His 6 blue eyes blinked in perfect time as he tried not to laugh. "Your people have only been part of this council for 20 years. We understand your excitement, but these claims are simply impossible." Daniel gripped the podium harder. Behind him, Admiral Samantha Jones and Dr. Alan Morris looked at each other with worry. They had told the Earth government not to announce the Pioneer so early, but the politicians wouldn't listen. They wanted to show off their big achievement. Zorcal from the Orion Confederation stood up next. His gold skin shimmered under the IUE hall lights. "For thousands of years, we have all agreed that travel beyond the 5th dimension is just a dream, or worse, extremely dangerous. The Proxians tried to reach the 6th dimension once. They blew up their entire star system." Daniel lifted his chin. "I respect your concerns, but our science is solid. The Pioneer's ready to fly next month." This made them laugh even harder. Some aliens nearly fell from their seats. Even the kind Pleiadians, who usually tried to be nice, whispered to each other with looks of pity. "Such imagination from the monkey species," said High Commander Vex of the Draconian Empire. His scaled face showed teeth in what might have been a smile. "Perhaps in another 1,000 years your great-great-grandchildren might understand basic 6th-dimensional math. The 7th? Never." While the Council mocked Earth's efforts, work continued in a hidden base deep under the Arizona desert. Chief Engineer Lisa Bennett walked around the massive ship called Pioneer. Unlike the smooth, pretty ships that aliens flew, Pioneer looked rough and boxy. But looks could fool you. Lisa placed her hand on the ship's metal skin. "They think we're stupid," she whispered to the ship. "They're wrong." "How are the final settings coming along?" Lisa asked her friend and second-in-command, Steve Rodriguez. Steve looked up from his computer tablet. "The dimensional array is at 98.7% power. Dr. Kim thinks we can reach 99% before we launch." Lisa smiled and nodded. Her eyes followed the strange patterns cut into the ship's outer hull. These patterns seemed to move and change when seen from different angles. The other space races believed humans couldn't understand higher math for centuries. They had no idea what Earth had discovered. Back at the council meeting, the laughter had finally settled down. Daniel tried one more time. "We understand this technology is new, but we hope you'll witness our test flight next month." Admiral Jones stepped forward. She was tall with a stern face that rarely smiled. "We invite any who wish to observe the Pioneer's first journey. See for yourselves what humanity has achieved." This started another round of alien laughter. The massive Balerian representative laughed so hard that his translator device shorted out. "We will send observers," Zillion finally said when the noise died down. "Such entertainment is rare. The sight of humans trying to achieve 7th-dimensional travel will be quite amusing." When the Earth team left the council chamber, they walked in silence down the long crystal hallway. Their footsteps echoed against the walls made from materials not found on Earth. "That went exactly as expected," Admiral Jones said finally. Daniel loosened his tight collar. "They think we're fools." "Good," said Dr. Morris, speaking for the first time since the meeting began. "Let them think that. Let them laugh." 3 days later, the Earth team's ship was heading home. From the window, Daniel watched the Galactic Council station grow smaller. It was a massive structure, like a silver snowflake floating in space. Built by races who had traveled among stars for thousands of years while humans were still figuring out farming. "Do you ever wonder if they're right?" Daniel asked Admiral Jones as they watched space go by. "What if the Pioneer fails? We'll be the galaxy's biggest joke for centuries." Samantha Jones showed a rare smile. "The ship won't fail." "You sound very sure," Daniel said. "I am." She handed him a secure tablet. "This just came in from Earth. Lisa Bennett's team pushed the dimensional array to 99.2% efficiency. The final tests were perfect. What the aliens didn't know was that 50 years ago, a brilliant young scientist named Gary Miller had found something amazing. Inside the DNA of deep-sea creatures on Earth were hidden mathematical patterns that matched pieces of information about dimensional travel scattered through various alien libraries. It was like finding puzzle pieces that fit perfectly, with scraps of knowledge humans had collected from 100 different alien sources. No single alien race had all the pieces, but Earth did. "Let them laugh now," Admiral Jones said, turning from the window. "In 1 month, everything changes." As their ship sped toward Earth, the Pioneer waited in its underground hangar. Its strange hull markings seemed to pulse with hidden energy under the bright lights. Engineers and scientists worked day and night, preparing for a journey that would shock the galaxy. The aliens saw the Pioneer as humanity's desperate attempt to join the advanced races. They were wrong. It wasn't just Earth's way of proving themselves. It was a chess move in a game the aliens didn't even know they were playing. And soon, very soon, it would be humanity's turn to laugh. 1 month passed quickly. The day of the Pioneer's launch arrived on a clear morning. In the large control room deep under the Arizona desert, Earth's top leaders and scientists gathered. Tension filled the air. Everyone knew what was at stake. During the past month, alien news networks had made fun of Earth daily. They called humans primitive apes with dimensional delusions, and ran joke stories about the monkey ship that would never fly. President Maria Alvarez stood before the nervous crowd. She was a small woman with a strong voice. "Today we either make history or become the biggest joke in the galaxy for years to come. But either way, we move forward like humans always do, with courage." On the main screen they could see the Pioneer sitting on its launch pad. The ship looked plain and simple from the outside. Nothing like the fancy alien ships with their smooth curves and glowing parts. Pioneer was boxy and dull gray with those strange shifting patterns on its hull that seemed to move when no one was looking directly at them. "Final systems check complete," said Lisa Bennett from her station. "The dimensional array is at 99.4% efficiency. That's better than we hoped for." Dr. Alan Morris nodded. "The math is solid. The ship is ready." Inside the Pioneer, Captain Jack Nelson sat in the command chair. His hands rested calmly on the armrests, but his heart beat faster than normal. He had trained for this moment for 3 years, ever since he was chosen to lead this mission. Now everything depended on him and his crew. "How are you feeling, Captain?" asked Dr. Victoria Hall. She stood by her station, checking final readings. Victoria was the brilliant mind who had taken Gary Miller's original math and made it work for the ship. Her long red hair was tied back tightly and her green eyes showed no fear. "Like we're about to change everything," Jack replied with a small smile. The crew of 12 was Earth's finest. Lieutenant Peter Washington, Earth's best pilot, Communications Officer Olivia Martinez, who spoke 7 human languages and 3 alien ones, Engineer Frank Cooper, Dr. Lily Davis, and 7 other specialists in various fields. "All crew at stations," reported First Officer Ben Collins. His voice was steady and calm despite the pressure they all felt. "Begin launch sequence," ordered Captain Nelson. In the control room, screens lit up with strange symbols and numbers as the Pioneer's special engines powered up. These weren't normal space engines that pushed ships through space. These engines would fold space itself, opening doors to higher dimensions that other species believed were impossible to reach. "We're getting signals from the observation station," said Admiral Jones. "Over 30 alien ships have arrived to watch us fail." Ambassador Wright nodded. "Let them watch." The alien observation station orbited Earth at a safe distance. On its main deck, representatives from dozens of advanced species gathered by the windows. They sipped exotic drinks and made jokes about humans. "I've bet 50,000 galactic credits that it explodes within 30 seconds, said a tall Arcturian to his friends. "Too optimistic," replied a floating gas cloud being from Betelgeuse. "I say it won't even lift off." Ambassador Zillion from the Andromeda Alliance watched with his 6 eyes narrowed. Unlike the others, he felt uneasy. The humans seemed too confident. Back in the Pioneer, the countdown reached 0. Captain Nelson gave the final order. Activate dimensional array. Dr. Victoria Hall's fingers flew across her control panel. Dimensional array powering up, reaching for 7th-Dimensional access point. The ship began to hum with energy. The strange patterns on its hull started to glow with a light that human eyes couldn't quite understand. A color that shouldn't exist. "We're being hailed," reported Olivia from her station. "It's a Centaurian diplomatic ship. They're offering to rescue us after our ship fails." Her voice held a hint of anger. Jack smiled slightly. "Politely decline. Tell them to keep a safe distance." Ambassador Wright watched from the alien observation deck as the Pioneer began to change. The ship seemed to blur around the edges, as if it existed in several places at once. "What's happening?" demanded an Orion scientist. Checking his instruments. "These readings can't be right." "7th-dimensional matrices stabilizing," announced Victoria inside the Pioneer. "Field strength at optimal levels." In the control room on Earth, Lisa Bennett gripped the edge of her station. They did it. They actually did it. The Pioneer now glowed with impossible light. Reality itself seemed to bend around it. The ship was surrounded by ripples like stones thrown into a pond, except these ripples were in the fabric of space-time. On the alien observation deck, the laughter had died. Expressions of amusement turned to confusion, then worry, then open fear. "That's not possible," whispered a Rigelian scientist, his instruments going crazy with readings. "They've created a stable 7th-dimensional field. No one has ever done that." "It must be a trick," insisted Zillion, but doubt showed in all 6 of his eyes. Inside the Pioneer, Captain Nelson gave the final command. Activate dimensional jump. The ship hovered for one more moment, glowing brighter and brighter. Then, with a flash so powerful it temporarily blinded every instrument for light years, around the Pioneer vanished. The aliens erupted in panic. "Did it explode?" asked someone. "No," said the Rigelian scientist, his voice shaking. It entered the 7th dimension. It actually worked. On Earth, the tracking systems showed something that changed human history forever. The Pioneer had traveled 53 light-years in less than 3 seconds. The control room erupted in cheers. People hugged and cried. Scientists who had worked day and night for years fell to their knees in joy and relief. "We did it," whispered President Alvarez. "We really did it." Ambassador Wright didn't cheer with the other aliens panicking around him. He simply smiled and touched the communication device on his wrist. "Tell Earth to prepare for Phase 2, he said quietly. "The laughter has stopped." Captain Jack Nelson's first thought when the Pioneer emerged from the 7th dimension was that something had gone terribly wrong. He blinked at the main view screen, trying to make sense of what he saw. This wasn't Alpha Centauri, their planned destination. Instead, they faced an unknown star system with 2 suns, one blue, one orange, circled by many planets of different sizes. "Where are we?" he asked, his voice tight with worry. Lieutenant Peter Washington checked the navigation system, his dark eyes growing wide. "Captain, we're in the Melnarian system. That's over 50 light-years from Earth." A deep silence fell over the bridge. Everyone knew about the Melnarian system. It was home to one of the oldest alien civilizations in the galaxy. Species that had mysteriously disappeared 3,000 years ago. They had left behind ruins that even the most advanced races couldn't fully understand. "Is the ship damaged?" Jack asked, looking around at his crew. First Officer Ben Collins ran a quick check of all systems. "No, sir. All systems working perfectly. The dimensional drive is stable. We're exactly where the math said we would be." This didn't make sense. They had programmed the ship to jump to Alpha Centauri, just a few light-years from Earth. How had they ended up here? Exactly where they weren't supposed to be? Dr. Victoria Hall suddenly jumped from her station, her green eyes bright with a new idea. It wasn't a mistake. The equations in the sea creature DNA, they weren't random. They were directions. "Directions?" Jack asked. "What do you mean?" Victoria moved quickly to the main computer. Her fingers flew over the controls as she pulled up the original equations discovered by Gary Miller 50 years ago. Look here. We thought these numbers were just math showing how to build the 7th-dimensional drive, but they're also coordinates. They were always meant to bring us here. Engineer Frank Cooper shook his head. That's impossible. Those equations came from sea creatures on Earth. How could they have directions to the Milnarian system? Dr. Hall smiled. Because someone put them there for us to find, when we were ready. Over the next 2 days, the crew of the Pioneer made discoveries that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. They carefully landed on the 4th planet of the system, where the largest Milnarian ruins stood on a vast plain under the light of the twin suns. The ruins looked like crystal towers half buried in red sand. Some still reached thousands of feet into the sky, their surfaces covered in symbols that glowed softly when humans approached. It's like they're waking up, whispered Olivia Martinez as she recorded the symbols with her equipment. Like they were waiting for us. Inside the largest tower, the team found rooms filled with strange devices. Most important was a massive library of knowledge, including complete details about dimensional engineering that went far beyond what even the most advanced current galactic races knew. As the team explored, Dr. Hall made the biggest discovery of all. In a circular room at the center of the main tower, they found a message left specifically for humans. It played as a hologram when they entered the room. The message showed a tall, graceful being with silver skin and 4 arms. "Greetings, children of Earth," the hologram said in perfect English, shocking everyone present. "If you are watching this, you have followed the path we set for your species long ago. We are what you call the Milnarians. We have not vanished, as the galaxy believes. We have simply moved beyond physical form, ascending to a higher dimensional plane of existence." The hologram explained that millions of years ago, the Milnarians had visited early Earth. They had discovered something special in early human DNA, a unique potential for dimensional thinking that other species lacked. "We saw your future," the hologram continued. "While other species in the galaxy would advance more quickly, reaching space before you, they would all hit the same barrier. They could not truly understand dimensions beyond the 5th. But you, humans, have minds that can grasp these concepts naturally. You simply needed time to evolve and develop. So we left you knowledge, hidden in the genetic code of simple sea creatures where it would remain safe until you had the technology to find it." Captain Nelson and his crew stood speechless as the hologram revealed the truth. The Milnarians had chosen humanity millions of years ago to be the inheritors of their knowledge. They had seen humanity's potential long before humans had even built their first cities. "There is much more to learn," the hologram said before fading. "This is just the beginning of your journey. Return to your people. Share what you have learned. When you are ready, come back to us. We will be waiting in the higher dimensions." After 3 days of collecting data and studying the Milnarian technology, the Pioneer prepared to return to Earth. But they wouldn't travel the same way they came. "According to these instructions," Victoria explained to the captain, "we don't need to use the 7th dimension the way we did before. We can simply fold space directly and appear where we want to be." "Is that safe?" Jack asked. Victoria nodded. "The Milnarians did it all the time. It's actually safer than our method." When the Pioneer returned to Earth a week after its launch, it didn't do so using normal space travel. The ship simply appeared in orbit around Earth, having skipped the need to travel through normal space entirely. Earth's tracking stations went crazy. 1 minute there was nothing, the next minute the Pioneer was back, floating peacefully above the planet as if it had always been there. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The humans, those primitive apes who had been laughed at just days earlier, had not only mastered 7th-dimensional travel but had been chosen eons ago as the inheritors of the most advanced knowledge in galactic history. Ambassador Wright stood in the Galactic Council chamber once again. But this time no one was laughing. The alien representative stared at him with shock, fear, and in some cases growing respect. "The Milnarians didn't vanish," Wright announced to the silent chamber. "They evolved beyond physical form, and they chose humanity to follow them." 6 months after the Pioneer's amazing journey, The Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. The round chamber had been redesigned with a new section, a raised platform where the human team now sat as full and equal members of the Council's inner circle. This position had always been saved for species with at least 10,000 years of space travel history. Humans had been traveling in space for less than a century. Ambassador Daniel Wright stood at the center podium. He was no longer the target of jokes and laughter. Now every alien representative watched him with careful attention and new respect. "The knowledge we found in the Melnarian archives does not belong to Earth alone," Daniel announced to the silent crowd. "We could keep this technology to ourselves. We could use it to become the most powerful species in the galaxy. But that is not what the Melnarians wanted. That is not what humanity chooses to do." His words caused surprised whispers among the alien representatives. Many races had feared that humans, after centuries of being looked down on, might want revenge or try to take control of the galaxy. "The Melnarians didn't choose humanity because we were better than other species," Daniel continued. "They chose us because they saw our ability to work together and grow. They saw our potential to help all species move forward together." Zillion, the six-eyed leader from the Andromeda Alliance who had once laughed at humans, now stood to speak. "What exactly are you offering, Ambassador Wright?" Daniel smiled. "We will share what we have learned with all peaceful civilizations in the galaxy. Starting today, Earth will begin teaching 7th-Dimensional engineering to any race that wishes to learn." The hall erupted in noise, shocked gasps, excited chatter, and even some angry shouts from species who didn't trust this sudden change. High Commander Vex of the Draconian Empire stood tall, his scaled face showing doubt. "Why would you share such power? What do humans want in return?" "Partnership," Daniel answered simply. "The Melnarians showed us that the greatest achievements come when different minds work together. They chose us to lead the way to the next stage of galactic development. We choose to lead by helping others join us, not by ruling over them." At the same time, at a large space station near Earth, Captain Jack Nelson and Dr. Victoria Hall walked through a busy dock area. Around them, engineers and scientists from 12 different alien species worked together, studying parts of the Pioneer's dimensional drive. Earth had kept certain key technologies secret, but had opened much of the 7th-dimensional science to their galactic neighbors. "Did you ever imagine we'd be here?" Victoria asked, watching as a tall Pleiadian scientist excitedly explained equations to Lisa Bennett. "Teaching advanced dimensional physics to races that were exploring space when our ancestors were still figuring out how to farm?" Jack smiled. "No, I never expected this, but it feels right." Through a large window they could see a small fleet of new ships being built. These were the first vessels from many races to use parts of 7th-dimensional technology with human guidance. They weren't as advanced as the Pioneer, but they showed a new era of working together in the galaxy. "Captain Nelson," called a voice behind them. They turned to see Zillion approaching with another alien, a Centaurian ambassador with 4 arms and silver skin. "The council meeting just ended," Zillion said. "Your people's offer to share knowledge has been accepted by most major civilizations." The six-eyed alien looked uncomfortable for a moment. "I also wish to personally apologize for my previous attitude toward your species." Jack nodded. "No apology needed. I probably would have laughed too if our situations were reversed." The Centaurian stepped forward. 6 months ago, my ship offered to rescue yours when it failed. Today I come to ask if Earth will help us build our first 7th-dimensional vessel." Victoria smiled warmly. "We'd be honored to help." Back on Earth, in the same Arizona hangar where the Pioneer had first been built, a new ship was taking shape, the EDS Discovery. This ship was twice the size of the Pioneer. It used new information from the Melnarian archives and was designed not just to travel through the 7th dimension, but to possibly reach the theoretical 8th dimension. President Maria Alvarez stood with Admiral Samantha Jones, watching workers from 7 different species building the new ship together. "The Galactic Council has approved our proposal for the Joint Dimensional Exploration Initiative," Samantha reported. 28 species have already signed up to participate. President Alvarez nodded. watching the diverse group work together on what would be the most advanced ship in the galaxy. From laughingstock to leaders in 6 months, not bad. They're not following us because we have better technology, Samantha replied. They're following us because we chose to share it instead of using it against them. That surprised them more than the technology itself. In Earth's orbit, a massive new space station was under construction. Unlike the old Galactic Council station, which had been built thousands of years ago by the oldest space-traveling races, this new station used 7th-Dimensional engineering principles. It would serve as the headquarters for the new era of galactic cooperation. Ambassador Wright's office in the station offered a view of Earth on one side and the vast galaxy on the other. As he finished his work for the day, Dr. Alan Morris entered with news from the scientific team. The first successful test of the 8th-dimensional probe was completed today, Alan reported excitedly, and we've deciphered more of the Melnarian archives. It appears they left information about 9th and even 10th dimensions. Daniel looked out at the stars. And the Melnarians? Any sign of them? Alan shook his head. Not yet, but Victoria believes they're watching, waiting for us to be ready to join them. How will we know when we're ready? Daniel asked. They said they would contact us, Alan replied. The message in the ruins promised they would reach out when humanity had proven itself worthy of the next step. As engineers Steve Rodriguez and Lisa Bennett worked on the new Discovery ship, Steve looked up at the amazing technology taking shape around them. He remembered how the aliens had laughed at humans just months ago. They're not laughing anymore, he said with a smile. Lisa nodded, watching alien and human engineers working side by side. No, they're not laughing. They're learning. And so, are we. Humanity had been the galaxy's biggest joke. Now they were its teachers and leaders, guiding the way into dimensions that even the oldest civilizations had never dared to explore. The laughter had stopped the moment Earth's 7th-dimensional ship activated, and the galaxy would never be the same again.